Let's talk about how to produce engaging newscasts. So if you're listening to me right now, depending on your role, whether you're a marketer, whether you're an agency, whether you're a small business owner, or whether you are, let's say, a podcaster, you will find this video very interesting because I'll give you the tips and tricks that you can implement right now, not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now, in your strategy so that you can produce, in the end, engaging newscast. So here's an overview I really want you to pay attention to. So the thing here is that when we talk about producing quality audio, it doesn't have to be expensive and time consuming if you adopt the right strategy. The thing here is you got to ask yourself, what do you do during the planning phase, during the testing phase, during the implementation phase, during the execution phase? Because you have a lot of phases that you have to go through if you're trying to produce engaging newscast. But the goal here is to have a plan. You got to actually have a plan. And the thing here is that when you have a plan, you have to follow that plan all the way through. One thing for sure, as more content is moving from the screen to the ears, a number of publishers have started to embed content readers onto their website. And so the user then has the choice to either read or listen to a news article. The advantages of using synthetically generated audio, like text-to-speech, for this purpose are obvious when you really think about it. Audio production becomes inexpensive, fully scalable, and with ultra-fast turnarounds, because you don't have to wait for 6 months for this thing to actually get done, right? You get it done in 6 minutes. Okay, so this is really important to see that the change there. So when we talk about producing engaging newscasts, I want you to think about the fact that the technology is there. You have state-of-the-art technology that actually makes the whole thing possible, from AI-driven, let's say AI-driven programmatic audio creation to text-to-speech software, among other things. You are able to get your job done real fast. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here, to have a conversation with you today about how to produce engaging newscasts. And the thing you need to understand here is that when we talk about technology, you are talking about the fact that you have all the tools that are available, and the only thing you need is creativity. The only thing you need is to deliver a sonic experience, an audio branding experience to your listeners that actually resonates with your target audience, that resonates with their geography, their demographics, their interest, everything. Okay. So let me give you the steps that you need to take if you want to produce engaging newscast. Now, the first part, and this is an important part, you need to assign roles. See, the whole thing is when we talk about, this is what I talked about earlier when I said you need to have a plan, you need to have a strategy, and you got to follow this plan all the way through. So first thing is you want to assign roles. Find someone who is organized to be the producer. You got to have a producer. If you're trying to produce engaging newscast, if you're trying to generate engaging newscast, you need to have a producer. So the producer of the newscast will be responsible for ordering the newscast. So he or she will decide how the newscast flows from one news segment to another. And he or she must be organized and willing to take on the challenge of putting the newscast together. So here we are speaking about analytical skills. We're talking about somebody who is committed to quality. So if you are working with a large group of people, you may ask 2 people to serve as producers for the newscast. That way, the work of organizing the newscast is shared between 2 people who are equally competent, by the way, though. Okay. And by the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to produce engaging newscast. So first you need to find someone who's organized. So it's all about assigning roles. Okay? You got to assign roles, because if you have the wrong people in the wrong roles, you're not going to produce anything interesting. You will have a crappy newscast, and you don't want that. So first you want to find someone who's organized to be the producer. Now you need to think about the writer. So choose a strong communicator to be the writer. So a newscast is typically written by one writer or a team of writers, depending on the size of your operation. So the bottom line here is what? You want to pick someone who is good at communicating on paper and who has an ear for writing dialogue. And he or she will write each news segment so the language and tone flow well together in the newscast. That's the thing. If you have in a team, you have to make sure that team works in sync. They have to work there has to be synergy in the way they write and the way they work also. That way, the final results, the final newscast flows from A to Z seamlessly. And you want to have that, you need to have that seamlessness in your newscast if you want to hook the audience from the beginning till the end. And you also want to pick someone with a good on-camera presence to be the anchor. See, the whole thing is that if you're listening to me right now, you are a marketer, you are a podcaster, you are a webinar creator, you are no matter who you are. I mean, you are a small business owner. You don't have to do things yourself. You don't have to be on camera yourself. No, because in life, everybody has qualities. People have qualities, so you have to really know where you're good at. You have to know what you're good at. Okay. So pick someone with a good on-camera presence to be the anchor. So the anchor is really responsible for introducing each news segment in the newscast. And he or she will act as the guide for the newscast. And the anchor should be comfortable on camera and have a very friendly, confident demeanor. Okay. You don't want to have somebody with a crappy mood, being on camera and just sort of, piss your viewers off. No, you don't want that. You don't want to see, because when we talk about engaging newscasts, we are speaking about the overall topic of creating a sonic experience, an audio branding experience. So you can actually, when we talk about having an anchor, for instance, you can choose two people to act as anchors for the newscast, and the anchors can then take turns in introducing the new segment. And one thing you can also do is that depending on the size of your operation, again, you don't have to be a news organization. I mean, you have a lot of in-house newscast production teams that do a lot of things. So you can assign several reporters to cover different stories. So a typical newscast will have 4 to 5 news segments. So each news segment will cover one news story. And so what you want to do is you can assign a reporter to cover one story. And the reporters will need to be comfortable appearing on camera and be prepared to discuss the details of the news story. One thing I want to say here is that this conversation, today's topic, is not just about news organization at all. Okay? You can be a podcast creator, a podcaster. You can be, let's say, a small business owner. You can be a webinar creator. You can be a digital agency chief or leader. You can be a marketer. And you'll find this topic very interesting, because nowadays, a lot of organizations outside of the media landscape are using newscasts to actually add a little bit of variety to their sonic experience. They're trying to really hook their listeners a lot more, their customers a lot more. If you have a limited number of reporters or a limited number of people who can talk on camera, you may ask the reporters to cover more than one news story. So the first part is you have assigned the role, right? Role number one, part one, assign the role. So we talked about someone who is the producer, somebody who is the writer, somebody who is the anchor, and somebody who is the news reporter. Number two, part two, you want to write the newscast itself. So you want to write the anchor's introduction, and most anchor introduction begin by greeting the audience with good evening, good morning, or welcome. And the introduction will then briefly outline each news segment in the newscast. For example, the anchor introduction might be, good morning and welcome to the local news, blah, 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 blah. Today's stories include the heartwarming tale of a girl and her pet turtle, and a look at rising employment levels, and a clip of the Hurricanes win at the football championships last night. So this is an example, but you can actually tailor that example to your specific industry, to your specific goal. Obviously, if you are running a newscast for a webinar or an upcoming webinar, you're not going to talk about the economy unless those two topics are related. If you have let's say a podcast about healthcare, about fitness, you are going to choose topics that resonate seamlessly with the audience around those topics. So you want to write the anchor's introduction. You want to create 2 to 4 minute news segments. So the thing is that you want to compartmentalize your newscast, right? So it's easier to follow. It flows easily. Not only in terms of the anchor presenting the news, but also the listener. Again, when we talk here about the news, we're not speaking about news like news in general. We're speaking about the type of news you want to convey to your listener. And this could be also like if you have an organization, a business, or a nonprofit, and you are trying to communicate certain types of news to your audience, then you can also produce a newscast. So you write the anchor's introduction. You have to create 2 to 4 minutes news segments. Make sure that you have a variety of news segments. So most newscasts have several different news stories. So you want to put a sports story, for example, a fitness story, a current news story, a weather story, why not, and a human interest story, all in the same newscast. So diversity plays an important role because diversity appeals to different audiences. But most importantly, diversity helps the listener hooked longer. And that's what you want. Watch time is important when we talk about newscasts. And also, you want to maintain all throughout the newscast a friendly, conversational tone in the news segments. The writer of the news segments should approach the content like he or she is talking to a friend. The tone should be friendly and conversational with simple language that is easy to follow. So avoid sentences longer than 2 lines and run-on sentences. Use simple terms that are accessible for the audience. This is an important element here. Now, I want to talk to you also about ordering the news segment. So you want to put the news segment in a particular order. The thing is, the hierarchy is kind of important in terms of letting listeners follow things seamlessly. Okay, so you want to start out with the most engaging story first, and the producer will do this before the newscast is set to air, ordering the news segments so they flow together nicely. For example, the newscast may start with the weather and then transition into a story on employment levels, followed by a sports story and a human interest story. So you always want to choose a segment that has powerful visuals or is very current and in the moment as the first news segment. For example, you may pick a news story about a fire that occurred last night in a local school as the opening segment. Some newscasts start with a current weather condition to keep viewers watching and show them something relevant right away. Okay, don't try to link together news segments that are clearly different or unconnected. Make the order as organic and natural as you can. Keep the viewer in mind as you organize the segments. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. What are we talking about? We are having a conversation about how to produce engaging newscasts. And the thing is that when we talk about producing newscasts, you need to put in transitions between news segments. This is quite essential because the anchor will appear between each news segment and say a few words to transition from segment to segment. Make sure you include transitions in the script for the newscast so the anchor knows what to say between stories. For example, the anchor may say, "Now let's turn to a heartwarming story about a young girl and her pet turtle rescued from a burning building late last night. Our city beat reporter, Anna, has more." So this seems flawless. This seems very seamless also. One thing you also need to pay attention to is to have an anchor sign off at the end of the newscast. Okay, the anchor should end the newscast with a short sign off, and the sign off can be something like, "Thanks for watching your local news. Thanks for watching this newscast. Thanks for watching our channel," all that kind of stuff. Okay, and you can say, "See you next time on behalf of all of us at this channel. Take care or God bless." Something very nice, something very comforting, something very conversational, and most importantly, something very friendly. So you got to really think about that. Now let me talk to you about the third part. So first part, you assign roles. Second part, you write the newscast. Third part, you need to present the newscast. So when we talk about presenting newscasts, we have different roles here. So you want to make cue cards for the anchor and the reporters. So you want to give the anchor and the reporters a guide so they know their lines during the newscast. You may make large cue cards that you hold behind the camera or in front of the reporters for them to read. It's all about the experience of your team It's all about how long they have been working on like as a team, but how long they have experience in dealing with this type of assignments. Because if you're dealing with experienced newscasters, if you're dealing with the experienced presenters and experienced anchors and reporters, things flow flawlessly. Things really go really fast. But if you have a newer, let's say a newer population, then you need more guidance. Okay. And the anchor can also hold cards with notes for each segment and read from those notes. I mean, this is totally possible. The bottom line here is you want to actually create a good experience, a good watching experience for your viewers. And so you want to encourage the anchor and reporters to avoid reading the cue cards, because the anchor and reporters should use the cue cards as a guide and not simply read off of them. Because the bottom line here is that you want to show the audience that you have prepared also. Okay, you're not just you just didn't wake up, brush your teeth, and just came in studio to read a bunch of cue cards. Okay, and so the reporters and anchor, they should present the lines while looking at the camera or the audience. And that's the thing, you want to connect with the audience. And so have the anchors maintain eye contact with the camera during the newscast. They should demonstrate relaxed body language with their shoulders back, their chin up, and their heads resting on their news desk. And so this is kind of cool because you want their hands to rest on the news desk to show some kind of like peace, to show serenity, to show that they're really comfortable. They're really comfortable with the news they're delivering. They're comfortable themselves in terms of their biology, their psychology. You don't want to have a stressed, like a news, let's say an anchor who is stressed out. One thing you also need to do here is to actually position the anchor and reporters on the set. So it's really important to really to deliver the type of branding experience that you want your audience to take away, right? So if you are presenting the newscast for a class, you may be able to stage it in front of an audience and do it live, for example. You can also film the newscast using a video recorder of a camera. Position the anchor at a center table and have the reporters on either side of the anchor. The bottom line here is you're trying to create and convey a certain experience. And so depending on how you want the viewer to feel, how you want the listener to feel, you have to really present things in a certain way. And one thing that's really important also is that when we talk about newscasts, and I didn't really see it during this video, the thing is newscast doesn't have to be visual. Nowadays you have newscasts actually they're done with audio. So folks are just driving, they're going to work, or they are just commuting to work. They actually can listen to an audio newscast. I mean, this is a topic for another day, but just want to say that a newscast is not just something video, okay? It doesn't have to be that way. And so when we talk about actually organizing the set, you need to understand that if you know how to edit video, you can also shoot the newscast in multiple takes and edit it together to create an organized newscast. And you want to practice the newscast several times before presenting it. Run through the newscast several times from beginning till the end. Make sure the anchor and the reporters know their lines with help from the cue cards. And check that the newscast flows well and seems engaging to viewers. Because in the end, everything you're doing, all the work, all the hard work, everything that the anchor, the producer, the writer, the reporters are doing, it's just like they're trying to connect with the audience. And if the audience thinks that you've done quality work, it's just fantastic. If the audience thinks otherwise, then you have to start over. This is why it's important to practice. It's important to make sure that all the everybody involved in a newscast, they know their roles and they have practiced their roles, and so they're comfortable delivering when it's time to deliver. And one thing I have to say before closing into this conversation is that, again, when we speak about newscasts, it doesn't have to be for a media organization. It can be for anything. It can be for, let's say you are trying to launch a new product and you just think, you know what, I'm just tired of having a regular audio ad. I'm going to do a newscast. So this can be you if you are a small business owner. This can be you if you're a marketer, you're a digital agency chief, or you're a digital agency rep. This can be you if you are a webinar presenter or webinar creator. This could be you if you are in education, if you are trying to run, like let's say you are doing L&D, learning and development for a company. You are an in-house L&D leader. So you have a constellation of roles, a constellation of scenarios where a newscast can be used. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about how to produce engaging newscast, and I give you the overview and I give you the steps you need to follow. So in assigning the roles and writing the newscast and presenting it. Thank you. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.